There is something beneath your feet right now. Something ancient. Something that has been building pressure for hundreds of thousands of years. If the scientists monitoring it are correct, that something is one of the most destructive forces this planet has ever carried inside itself. We spend a lot of time worrying about the things we can see: wars, pandemics, economic collapse. We build systems to predict them, and we build governments to manage them. But there is a category of threat that sits completely outside the reach of any human institution. A category of event so large that everything we have ever built becomes irrelevant the moment it begins. Today, we are going to simulate that event, step by step, hour by hour. We are going to walk through what physically, chemically, and biologically happens if the Yellowstone supervolcano erupts right now. Not the Hollywood version. Not the one where a family escapes in a recreational vehicle with 3 minutes to spare. The real version. The one the models actually produce. Brace yourself. Before we get into the timeline, we need to understand what Yellowstone actually is, because most people have a completely wrong picture of it. When people hear the word volcano, they think of a mountain, a cone, a crater at the top, lava flowing down the sides. Yellowstone is not that. Yellowstone is a supervolcano. And the difference between a regular volcano and a supervolcano is not just a matter of size, it is a matter of mechanism. A standard volcano builds pressure through a narrow conduit and releases it through a single vent. Violent, yes. Geographically contained, yes. A supervolcano does not have a single vent. It has a caldera, an enormous collapsed crater that forms when the magma chamber beneath it is so large and so pressurized that the entire surface above it collapses inward all at once. The Yellowstone caldera is roughly 70 kilometers long and 45 kilometers wide. It is so large you cannot see its edges from the ground. When tourists visit Yellowstone National Park and marvel at the geysers, the hot springs, the boiling pools, they are standing inside the caldera. They are standing on the roof. The magma chamber beneath that roof contains an estimated 330 cubic kilometers of partially molten rock. To understand what that means, we need a reference point. May 18th, 1980. Mount St. Helens, Washington State. The eruption that morning ejected roughly a cubic kilometer of material. It flattened 200 square miles of old-growth forest. It killed 57 people. It turned daylight into complete darkness across an entire state in minutes. Ash fell across 11 American states. 1 cubic kilometer. 57 deaths. $1 billion in damage. Now multiply everything by 1,000. That is the minimum eruptive volume associated with a Yellowstone scale event. 1,000 cubic kilometers of rock, gas, and glass injected into the atmosphere in a matter of hours. Enough material to bury the entire state of Texas under 5 feet of debris. Enough to alter the climate of the entire planet. Enough to trigger a chain of consequences no government has ever meaningfully planned for. The sequence begins deep underground. The Yellowstone magma chamber is held under pressure by layers of solid rock acting as a cap. The moment that cap fails, the pressure release generates a kinetic energy event that surpasses the combined yield of every nuclear weapon ever built by every nation on Earth. The ground does not just shake. In places, it liquefies. The rock above the magma chamber does not crack. It disintegrates. If you are within roughly 100 kilometers of the caldera at that moment, biology stops. Not in an hour, immediately. And it is not lava that kills you. Lava is slow. Lava gives you time. What kills you is something called a pyroclastic density current. Picture a ground-hugging avalanche of superheated gas, volcanic ash, and rock fragments moving outward from the eruption at speeds between 300 and 500 miles per hour. Its internal temperature exceeds 1,000 degrees Celsius. It follows valleys and low terrain with terrifying precision. It overwhelms everything in its path. Buildings, metal, bedrock. For those within the affected zone, death is nearly instantaneous. The thermal wave vaporizes organic matter faster than the nervous system can process the signal. The speed of a nerve impulse through the human body is roughly 270 miles per hour. The blast wave is faster. You are gone before the information that you are burning reaches your brain. There is a strange, cold comfort in that. It is the only comfort this scenario offers. Beyond the immediate death zone, the pressure wave extends across an enormous area. The 1883 eruption of Krakatoa generated a sound wave that circled the Earth 4 times and was heard over 3,000 miles away. It ruptured eardrums and knocked people off their feet hundreds of miles from the source. A Yellowstone eruption would generate a pressure wave orders of magnitude more powerful. Windows shatter across the Midwest from atmospheric overpressure alone. Emergency services in cities hundreds of miles away. Cities completely unaware of what has just happened suddenly find their infrastructure compromised before the first particle of ash has landed. And now the ash begins to fall. We need to talk about this carefully, because the word ash is doing enormous damage to public understanding. When most people hear ash, they think of the soft grey powder that falls out of a fireplace. Light. Harmless. Something you brush off your shoulder. That mental image will get people killed. Volcanic ash is not combustion residue. It is not carbon. It is mechanically shattered rock and glass. Specifically, it is composed of silica, the same mineral that forms quartz and obsidian, pulverized into fragments smaller than 2 millimeters. Under a microscope, each particle is not round and soft. It is jagged, angular, and razor-edged. In industrial terms, it is a cutting agent. The same class of material used in sandblasting equipment to strip paint from steel. When you inhale this material, it does not dissolve. It does not break down. It embeds itself in your lung tissue and stays there forever. The eruption column shoots this glass 30 kilometers into the stratosphere, far above the weather systems that might otherwise bring it down quickly. Once it is up there, it spreads. Within 24 hours, the sky goes dark across the Dakotas, Nebraska, Colorado, and Wyoming. Not overcast, not stormy, dark. An absolute blackness, as if the sun has simply decided to stop existing. Streetlights activate automatically at noon. Then, within hours, they go out too. Why? Because of what the ash cloud does electrically. As billions of glass particles collide at high velocity inside the volcanic plume, they generate massive static electricity through triboelectric charging, the ash cloud becomes a continent-sized battery. The result is a continuous electromagnetic storm of extraordinary violence. But the real damage is infrastructural. Induced currents far beyond design tolerances surge through high-voltage transmission lines across the western grid. Transformers, which take 1 to 2 years to manufacture and replace, arc and burn out across multiple states. The cascading failure spreads east. The United States goes dark. No power, no internet, no water pumps, no communication. And it does not come back in days. In the affected regions, it may not come back for years. In the darkness, people try to leave, get in the car, drive away from the ash, find somewhere safe. But the car is the next trap. A gasoline engine needs air. Your air filter is designed to stop road dust and pollen. It is not designed to stop microparticulate volcanic glass. The silica particles enter the combustion chamber and act as industrial diamond powder against the cylinder walls and piston rings. The engine loses compression. The oil becomes grinding paste. Within minutes to hours of sustained exposure, the engine seizes permanently. This is not theory. During the Mount St. Helens eruption in 1980, which was 1,000 times smaller, police cars and ambulances in eastern Washington were disabled within hours. Farmers reported tractors stopping in their fields mid-row. In a Yellowstone scenario, every vehicle without military-grade sealed filtration stops. Every truck on every highway, every ambulance, every generator running on combustion. The supply chain does not slow down, it stops. And modern cities carry roughly 3 days of food inventory. When the trucks stop, the clock starts. You are on foot, in darkness, in ashfall. You retreat to your house. You think you are safe. Then your roof collapses. A standard residential roof in the United States is engineered for a live load of around 20 pounds per square foot. Dry volcanic ash is already heavy. Volcanic ash does not stay dry. As it accumulates, it absorbs atmospheric moisture and transforms into something closer to wet concrete. At 4 inches of wet accumulation, the load approaches double the structural failure threshold of a standard home. At 8 inches, the vast majority of residential buildings in America collapse. People who survived the blast, the darkness, the vehicle failures, and who retreated indoors believing they were safe, are crushed to death as the sky comes down on top of them. If you do not go outside in full protective equipment every few hours to clear the roof kills you. If you breathe the air without high filtration respiratory protection, the ash kills you too. It just takes longer. When silica particles reach the alveoli, the microscopic air sacs deep in your lungs, your immune system sends macrophages to destroy the intruder. Macrophages cannot digest glass. They engulf the particle and die. When they die, they release inflammatory enzymes into the surrounding tissue. More macrophages arrive, and they die too. The cycle accelerates. Lung tissue scars progressively. Fluid accumulates. In acute silicosis, the timeline is not years. It is weeks. The lungs fill with inflammatory fluid mixed with glass-laden debris. Oxygen exchange collapses. You drown inside your own body, slowly, over the course of a month or two. Without hospitals, without ventilators, without antibiotics for the secondary pneumonia that follows, there is no intervention available. The water supply offers no alternative. Ash contains fluorine and sulfur compounds that dissolve rapidly in water, transforming reservoirs and groundwater into dilute acid solutions. Drinking it causes fluorosis, which degrades bone density and destroys teeth. Not drinking it means dying of thirst. The choice becomes which death to choose and at what speed. Now zoom out, because everything described so far is the regional catastrophe, the American collapse. Devastating, total, unprecedented in modern history. But the global consequences may ultimately be larger because they are slower, harder to see coming, and fall on people thousands of miles away who had nothing to do with what happened. The eruption has injected thousands of megatons of sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere. This sulfur dioxide reacts with water vapor to form sulfuric acid aerosols, which spread globally over weeks and months, forming a persistent reflective veil around the planet. This veil bounces incoming solar radiation back into space before it reaches the surface. Global average temperatures begin to drop. The projected temperature reduction for a Yellowstone scale event is 3 to 5 degrees Celsius, sustained for years. That sounds small. It is not. The difference between the modern world and the last ice age, when glaciers a mile thick covered New York City, was approximately 5 degrees. We are not talking about harsher winters. We are talking about the death of global agriculture. The monsoon fails across India. Wheat harvests freeze across Russia. Corn stops growing throughout the American interior. And global food reserves represent roughly 90 days of consumption for 8 billion people. On day 91, the math becomes brutal and simple. There is not enough food. There is no logistics network to redistribute what remains, because that network runs on electricity and combustion engines, both of which are already gone in the most productive agricultural regions on Earth. The closest historical parallel is the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia, which was roughly 100 times smaller than a Yellowstone event. The following year became known as the Year Without a Summer. Killing frosts hit New England in every month of the year. Harvests failed across Europe. Famine spread from Ireland to China. The total death toll from the aftermath, mostly starvation and disease, rather than the eruption itself, exceeded 90,000 people. Tambora was 1/100th of this scale. The political consequences of what follows are not difficult to project. History is unambiguous about what human societies do when food runs out, and governments cannot provide it. Systems collapse. Conflict intensifies. Migration on a scale never seen in recorded history begins as populations move toward wherever food remains. The international institutions and trade relationships that underpin the global economy require stability to function. Stability is the one thing this scenario eliminates entirely. We are describing, carefully and without exaggeration, the potential end of the world as it currently operates, not the end of human life on Earth. Humans are resilient. Some would survive. But the end of the civilization we have built, the end of the systems we depend on for food, medicine, energy, and basic order. A collapse that would require generations to recover from, if recovery is even possible given the degraded climatic baseline that persists for years afterward. Every element of what has been described here is grounded in established geological science, climate modeling, and the historical record. The U.S. Geological Survey monitors Yellowstone continuously. The caldera floor rises and falls. Earthquake swarms occur regularly. The magma is there. The pressure is real. Yellowstone has erupted 3 times. 2.1 million years ago, 1.3 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago. We are 640,000 years past the last event. Geologists are careful to note that volcanic systems do not operate on clockwork schedules. It may not erupt for another million years, but the chamber is there. The process is ongoing, and the monitoring never stops. Our civilization is a thin, brilliant, fragile layer resting on rock that floats on magma. Every light that turns on, every meal on a table, every functioning hospital, every road that takes you where you are going, all of it depends on systems we have built and maintain with extraordinary effort. Systems that can be erased by events that have nothing to do with human decisions or human failures. Understanding that is not a reason for despair. It is a reason to build more honestly, to plan more seriously, and perhaps to hold a little more lightly to the assumption that tomorrow will look like today. The ground beneath you is breathing, slowly, on a timescale you cannot feel, but it is breathing.